This episode of Around the Oval is brought to you by Todd Pennington with Revolution Mortgage.
Hey, Ohio State fans, Alex Gleitman here. Welcome back to another edition of Around the Oval brought to you by Todd Pennington with Revolution Mortgage. On today's show, we bring in another special guest. The transfer portal has taken over college football the last few years. Ohio State has lost some players to the portal. They've also brought in a number of key players to their success over the last few years through the transfer portal. The names Justin Fields, the names Trey Sermon come to mind. And the latest Ohio State Buckeye to come to Columbus via the portal is USC place kicker Parker Lewis. We have Parker on the show today. Parker, appreciate you joining us. Congratulations, first and foremost, on your decision to pick Ohio State, and appreciate you giving us your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, before we dive into I guess your second recruitment, just talk a little bit about your decision to leave USC. I know obviously there was a new coaching staff and things of that nature, but you had a pretty good year last year, 17 of 22, just over 77%, long of 52 yards. I mean, you were pretty good as far as college place kickers go. 74 total points, and you had 9 field goals the year before and 50 total points. Usually with kickers with that much success, you don't see them looking to leave where they're at. So tell everyone listening and watching a little bit about your decision of why you look to pursue other options in the portal.
Yeah. So basically, to start off, my USC from the beginning with me. So I committed to SC as a sophomore. Basically, a huge reason I went was because of the special teams coordinator at the time. His name was Coach John Baxter. He had, I'd say, probably the best system with how he managed his kickers and specialists in total. He was best friends with Coach Helton. So the way that they operated is, they would kick and then they would lift right after. He managed the kickers like pitchers, so it was just very low reps, kind of like quality over quantity. And that was a big thing that started with me, because I've always been just a low rep, get really good reps in, don't really kick a lot of balls. And that's how I preserve myself, through the season, especially, being in high school. I kicked, we were running up teams. We played like 14 games a year, went to state every year. We were killing our teams, 60 points. I had over 100 kickoffs. I punted, I was doing a lot of kicking. So I've always just been a low rep guy. So it's actually funny. I was at the Ohio State Clemson game. I was watching Blake Hobbiel, who was the previous kicker at Ohio State. Really close with him. I've known him since 7th grade. I was at that game, and that was December 31st, 2019, and I'm set to enroll January 4th, 2020. So literally 4 days later, and I get the call after that, Coach Baxter had just been fired, unfortunately, and went in, and I didn't know kind of what was expected, what coordinator we were going to get. And usually coordinators, once they're fired at the end of the season, they're usually the last to get hired in the next calendar year. And so the coach that came from Kansas State, Sean Snyder, we literally got one spring ball practice with them, and COVID obviously hit, and we weren't back until July. And yeah, he's a great coach. He's a great, person to have off the field. Love the guy, but his morals are just completely just polar opposite from what I was used to and what like the other specialists were used to. He's a very high rep guy, kind of if you have a problem kicking, kind of kick through it. That's just his philosophy. Like, he said it at Kansas State, when he was punting there, he would punt and kick until his leg came off. And it was just super frustrating. And, I got injured, and, I really wanted to enter the portal after the season. And, my dad, I had like a long talk with my dad, got with Coach Helton. We figured out just a better system with specialists and something that was going to work and help preserve us, through the season. And, it was all kind of going well. And then, obviously this last season at SC was just, it was just a really kind of just toxic situation. I mean, it's never going to be a good situation when your head coach gets fired the second week and the interim coach that stepped in, Coach Dante Williams. I mean, I absolutely love that guy. He did everything he possibly could to keep that program together and keep everybody going. But I think a lot of it too, just from the other coaches, basically that whole coaching staff knew ever since Mike Bone came in after Stanford and said, we're moving in a separate direction. Coach Helton's getting fired. Coach Dante Williams is going to be an interim head coach. I mean, every coach basically knew that they were getting fired, and it definitely showed. And how they were, running practices, putting in time and effort and caring. And I think that was a big result of us going 4-8. And it was just really hard to buy in. And I got a lot of grief, when I talked about like the kind of like the culture and all that, and the stands, not being as full, when I was asked about how it compared to Ohio State's spring game. And a lot of that was just because it was just a very weird situation, and it just wasn't the best. And so that was basically why. And then obviously when Coach Riley's staff came in, my immediate concern after talking to a couple of people, it was that he doesn't do special teams coordinators, and he just kind of he has the duties split up amongst the other coaches. So like the wide receiver coach will have kickoff, the O-line coach will have kickoff return. It's just they didn't really have a guy and that looked over and managed specialists. And I wanted a meeting. I wanted to have a meeting with him on that, and we had the meeting, and he kind of explained how he manages special teams, and I just kind of talked with my dad, and especially moving on to like the back end of my career, I really wanted to go to a place where I was going to be able to basically be the best version of myself on and off the field and really get developed. And I mean, I saw a lot of places, talked to a lot of coaches. I mean, there really was not a better place than Ohio State to do that. And Coach Fleming he was Blake's coach at the back end of his career, and I have a great relationship with Blake. Talk to him almost every day, and it was a real comfortable, easy process talking with Coach Fleming, Coach Day. Felt like I already knew him. So everything really lined up well, and I'm really looking forward to the future and getting there soon.
Yeah, that's a great story. I appreciate you sharing. And it's not easy to talk about that stuff, and I can't imagine last year was easy for you or anyone on that team. Hopefully brighter days ahead for that program, but you kind of took that fate into your own hands and with this decision. You talked about the back half of your career. You got a lot of eligibility left. We talked about it before the show. You came in 2020. That was a COVID year. Everyone gets a free year for that. So really, technically last year was your freshman year, and now you have 3 years of eligibility remaining, which probably made you that much more attractive to Ohio State. Obviously, they have a couple kickers on their roster and things like that, but you got 3 years left. Before we get into Ohio State stuff, talk a little bit about, the schools that you considered in this process and why it was Ohio. I know you kind of talked about it just a little bit right there, but what was it about Ohio State that made them the choice over some of those other schools?
Yeah, so some of those schools I was looking at, Notre Dame, Miami, Ole Miss, those are probably the top. Talked to a ton of different coaches from just around the country. But I mean, there is, and I was talking to my dad about this, like as we were going down the hallway. As you walk into the Woody Hayes Center, and you immediately go into just mural of just trophy after trophy after just ridiculous amounts of trophies. That immediately brought the presence of like this is so serious. Like, this is a winning program. A couple of the schools I went to, I mean, you were seeing a lot of like swim trophies, track and field trophies, basketball trophies, and at Ohio State, I mean, it was just ridiculous, the amount of national championships, Heisman's Conference championships, bowl game. I mean, it was just ridiculous. And then as you walk through that, I can't remember what that room's called, but as you walk through that into the actual Woody Hayes Center down the hallway, I mean, it's just the amount of history and tradition that you see as you're walking down the halls. It's just such a storied program, and they just have developed player after player after player every year in and year out. And it was something to be said about how Ohio State presents itself and just manages everything from their coaches, their strength staff, their players, their administration. Just everything that surrounds that program is just done to the highest standard. And it was just, it just surpassed every other place I saw. It was unreal. That was my immediate first impression, was just, I was like, there's no place like this.
Yeah. And, I know the spring game visit was big for you as far as helping you make that decision. We spoke a little bit, exchanged some messages after that. I kind of had a feeling Ohio State maybe was where you were leaning, but obviously you have to get off those visit highs and level set and make those decisions. But tell us just a little bit about that experience for the spring game visit and what you saw and why that made such an impact on you, outside of obviously just seeing all the hardware and the tradition and the history. Tell us a little bit just about that spring game experience.
So I remember when I met with Coach Day Friday, and he was telling me that he was like, yeah, it's going to be, we're going to be expecting, a lot of people. He was like, we're going to have some bad weather, but we're still going to be expecting, a good number. And I was like, oh, okay. And I mean, I wasn't expecting anything like crazy, especially from what I was used to, playing in the Pac-12. But I remember I woke up at like 8, and the spring game didn't start till, was it like noon? I think it was noon
or 1 maybe.
Yeah. Can't remember the exact time, but it was obviously hours before. I woke up, turned on the TV, and it's raining outside, and they were filming the shoe, the outside of the shoe, and there were 40,000 people, 40,000 fans in those like rain fleeces, those like raincoat things, and the 40,000 just sitting out in the rain waiting to go in the stadium. And I was like, oh my, like, this is just ridiculous. And I remember the whole night before, as I was coming back into the hotel, there were just so many people coming in. Oh yeah, here for the spring game, flew in for the spring game. So my like initial response and reaction to my spring game visit was just the fans and how crazy the fans are and how much they love Ohio State football. That was, and that's something that's really cool to be a part of. The Ohio State fan interaction, the game time experience. I mean, that's just that was really cool.
Yeah, just don't miss any kicks and you'll be good with all the fans. But yeah, wait till you miss your first one, and then we'll see what the fans say about that. No, I'm just kidding. But it will be, it's always great. Ohio State, I mean, they put 90,000 plus, I think maybe even 1 year 100,000 for the spring game on a really good weather day.
Yeah.
It's when you see the shoe for the first time and a big night game or something like that, it's going to be a real cool experience for you.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about you getting on the field. I mean,
Obviously, I know Noah Ruggles wasn't with the team this semester, but Coach Day said he expects him back this summer. And then Jake Seibert, obviously, who kicked a little bit in the spring game. They have Dom Damasio, a few other guys on the roster right now. What have Coach Day, what have Coach Fleming told you about, kind of the plan for you, whether it's this year, whether it's, the next few years? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so that was just a concern I had obviously in the beginning because football it's very political and every coach kind of has like quote unquote their guy. And that was a concern. Would I kind of be sitting in the back seat on this one? Is it going to be favored 100% towards Noah? And I expressed this to Coach Fleming, Coach Day, and when I met with Coach Day, Coach Day, he told me on the phone, but he also told me in person, but he really stretched the importance of it and was, saying that, this wouldn't be Ohio State if we played favorites. And, it's going to be an open competition. And, they wouldn't be doing their job if they were playing somebody who was the best and, wasn't going to start. So, yeah, they really honed in on that. So, every job is open, and it kind of came down to do I want to come in and compete and be a part of something special. And I remember one thing that Coach Fleming told me in the beginning, and all these other schools were reaching out and all that. Coach Fleming told me how he came from a small school, took a huge pay cut, and it worked out really well for him. He's the special teams coordinator at Ohio State, which is a huge title. And he told me, I want you to bet on yourself like I did. And look how it turned out. So that's one thing that definitely considered and really thought I could come in here and play a significant role.
Yeah. And, you mentioned all the jobs are open. So that means like if Noah, let's say, wins the kicking job, field goal kicking, you potentially could still be the kickoff guy. Is that type of scenario in play?
Yeah, there's, there could be, a whole bunch of scenarios, like
A long guy, a short guy.
Yeah, I could be the the kickoff guy, the long guy. Noah could be the kickoff guy. I could be the field goal guy. It could just, there are so many different ways it can work out. So it's all just gonna have to shape itself out.
Yeah. And, I think what he told you, Coach Day, is, there's testimony there. Jake Seibert was the guy Blake was out with COVID in the national championship. I think it was COVID the year before, and Jake Seibert's kicking in the national championship game. So you come into last year thinking he's going to be the guy for sure. And then Blake comes into Noah comes in from UNC, and it's true competition, and he won the job and he kicked the whole year. And so I think, when he says that, sometimes you kind of roll your eyes at coaches just telling you what you want to hear, but there's proof in the pudding a little bit as far as showing that, at least at your position, that certainly has been true.
Yeah, and it was funny. Coach Fleming even used Denzel Burke as an example. So I played with Denzel in high school. I know him really, 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 really well. He was like, Denzel came in here and beat out 2 starters. So I don't know what year they were. I think either like sophomores or juniors, but
Juniors.
yeah, juniors. Yeah. So yeah, it really is. They really do play the best at Ohio State, and like I said, it was something I really wanted to be a part of.
Yeah. And you're only 2 years into USC. So, I know you're still in the semester there. When do you finish up at USC, and when do you get to Ohio State?
Yeah. So right now we're shooting for the May 10th date. I know that workouts start the 16th. I'm going to see if they have I'm going to see what the ad drop deadline is for the first semester of summer school, because I take my last final May 9th. So taking that May 9th and then having to be there a day later, I could be cutting it really close. So it's just one thing we're kind of working out right now, that it's going to get figured out very soon.
But sometime probably this month you'll be in
Oh,
Columbus.
absolutely. Yeah.
And then you'll go through summer workouts with the team and things along those
Correct.
lines and get acclimated.
Correct.
And then obviously camp in August and then get ready for your first season. And, you know, you got 3 years at Ohio State. I mean, hopefully if all goes well for you, maybe even less, and then off to the NFL. What are the goals that you have for both yourself and for the team during your time with the Buckeyes?
Yeah. For myself, obviously I want to go in and be the starting, kickoff and field goal kicker. I want to have a great season. And see where that takes me. Another goal I have for myself is, I obviously want to get my degree. And be the best student athlete I can be possible at Ohio State. And that was another thing. I didn't really talk a whole lot about it, but they have a program called the Circle of Care, which they really talked about. And I mean, it really was just an incredible opportunity for student athletes. And I could really see myself being the absolute best student athlete possible with that program. So that got me really, really excited. Team goals, obviously, I want to go to a bowl game first. Haven't been to a bowl game yet. But a national championship would be, incredible. And I definitely think that would be, that's something that Ohio State definitely can achieve without a doubt this next year and the year after.
Awesome. And last thing, we know you could kick the football really well, but when you're not playing football, when you're not working out, tell us a little bit about what you like to do off the field.
Yeah, so off the field, I love to work out. I think working out would probably be number one. I'm in the gym all the time, and that was another thing. Ohio State, and I even said this from the beginning. Even if I would have gone in Notre Dame or another school, I was like, Ohio State has the best strength staff in the country, hands down, without a doubt. Mickey Marotti is just an absolute stud. I love listening to music, going on hikes, hanging out with my friends. I'm not it's nothing crazy really.
Normal college kid stuff.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Well, Parker, we appreciate you joining us. Want to congratulate you once again. Good luck with finals over the next week. And then, good luck starting your career with Ohio State.
Absolutely. Awesome. Appreciate it.
This episode of Around the Oval was brought to you by Todd Pennington with Renovation Mortgage. If you've been thinking about refinancing or buying a house, check out our sponsor, Todd Pennington with Renovation Mortgage. They offer low rates for refinancing and home purchase loans, including first-time home buyer programs, down payment assistance, and cash-out home equity loans. Check out revolutionmortgage.com/tpennington.